Alright, so got the arm here, finally got a nut. So here's the throttle cable. It's going to route it similar to the way the original one was, kind of right under here. A little high for right now, but kind of see that guy. So it's going to mount on the outside. It looks like I need a flat washer, which I forgot to grab, and then just a regular block nut here. Can't really see that good at all, can you? Over here. So we have a washer. Too tight. Just want it to be able to pivot a little bit. There it goes. That's why I got the nylon style one, so it'll still stay tight. It's going to go like this, and then it's going to slide. You can see that right back on top of our stud. Now we got to get our spring and our nut. First nut, tension nut. And we'll adjust that, and then put the lock nut on after that. Alright, so the issue doing this throttle cable like this is it needs to pull it from the opposite direction. So the standard hookup, like so, is going to make it so when you push the lever forward, it's going to want to close off the throttle, and you pull it back to increase throttle. And I don't really want that. I'd rather have it. It makes a lot more sense to me. Push the throttle forward to accelerate, pull it backwards. So what I'm going to need to do is just kind of mock this up again. And then mark like right about where I want my tab to go, where it'll still be able to pull it easy with this throttle cable. So I'm just going to get one of these little. Alright, so I got my hole drilled right here for this bracket, but to get this through, I got to disconnect the cable from the. I have to disconnect the cable. As you can see, to get it through this little bracket, I got to disconnect the cable so I can take the nuts off and everything and thread it through. So let's do that real quick. Now that's done, now I can grab this end again and route this end of the throttle cable back through to the back. So let's do that. Well, I'm kind of silly because having it mounted here, which is kind of all in the way, I didn't realize there's another set right there. I've looked at it like 5 times. I didn't realize it until I was getting ready to hook up another spring. So I'm just going to relocate the throttle cable. So let's do that real fast. Yeah, I think we might be cooking with some gas. All right, so let's throw it all the way off. Let's see how it does. So that's clear. Those wires will get moved up here in a minute. So right there's wide open. I'm hitting my throttle stop. It's hitting the front throttle stop, so those are kind of combined. And then when I go back, it still doesn't pull it all the way back. So I still will need to add a little spring action to it, I think. Maybe right there. We'll see. So one thing that is kind of strange, just playing with this some, is when you go full throttle, this mechanism is supposed to pull this bar here, which in turn, as you can see, goes over here. And that's supposed to should open the throttle on the carburetor. But even at full open, you can see I got to push it about an inch or so before that's full throttle. Obviously, it shouldn't go quite that far. It should go somewhere here, but it seems like it's not even taking out the slop, really. I mean, it moves it like a 1/4 inch. But that may be maybe because the carburetor and everything is, or not carburetor, with the air filter housing is off. So I just have to keep that in mind if it seems like it's running way too low or the throttle's not doing anything. That factory linkage is maybe out of whack. All right, so now we're ready to put the air cleaner housing back on. However, this little guy here was from the old fuel tank, and it goes up in here into this little valve, and it's like kind of a pain to mess with. So I'm just going to snip it here, put a screw in it to keep it from sucking any debris or anything in. Okay, and then some of my electrical wiring that I added, actually, there's a little thing that had a fuel hose or something in here that works really nice to help pull those up out of the way. I can zip tie them as well. But these are all going to kind of get moved up, so I'm not too worried about it right now, but I will grab a zip tie to keep that guy from falling out. And then we'll hook up the choke. Alright, so the choke mechanism works again, not the greatest. I think I'm going to have to revisit that, but I'm in Arizona, so I don't have to use the choke very often anyway. So we'll see how it goes. So now I'm going to, time to go ahead and pretty up, put the air cleaner housing back on, I guess. Put the air cleaner back on, make sure my gasket's still there, which it is. Go out, zoom out a little bit here. You can probably see a little bit better. So then I can attach, there's a nice little bracketry up here already. Attach that guy up there, and then I'll need to church up the wires on the front. Okay. Alright, so that looks pretty good now. We got pretty much everything kind of sitting up off the motor and stuff. It's got a little bit of play. I think it'll be fine. We'll find out once we test fire it up. The next thing before I forget is I need to go and bolt the motor down to that intermediate plate. So I'm going to do that real quick. So I'm putting the bolts in the motor to hold it down to this intermediate plate. I'm going to remind myself, so I grab that guy there, and I have one of these battery cables from the ground, so I'm going to use this one to tie all the ground together. So that'll go there, and that'll ground the motor good. So anything connected to the motor. And then I'm going to connect them over here. I can't see real good with these wires, but this little ground block that I'd mounted earlier, I'm going to connect it here also. And then the battery cable from the main will hook up on the other side, so that'll make it pretty easy.